This is certainly an unprecedented day in the history of college sports, and I don't want to sound overdramatic here, but gambling has always been a thick red line.
The following is a presentation of Hobson Media. Woohoo!
All right, what's up? Not really an opening statement guy, but I will open with this statement. I'm fired up to be here.
This is Church Pew Sports, where we connect sports to life and faith.
Could you repeat that first part?
Take a knee.
Absolutely glorious.
Lend an ear.
I believe it's going to be for the best.
Then get ready to laugh, listen, and learn.
How about you announce that you're getting better?
No matter your team, your favorite sport.
Bowling. Bowling's insane. Bowling is crazy time.
We cover it all here on Church Pew Sports.
And we want to pump you up.
Gentlemen, start your engines, brothers.
That's right. Get your engines started and welcome into another episode of Church Pew Sports, where we connect sports to life and faith. And if you are watching us on the live stream on Facebook or X or YouTube, you're seeing Paul hold up all sorts of tchotchkes that he's got scattered around his set. We've got Carson, who's showing off some sort of NIL deal without prior approval from the team. And we'll handle the proper introductions here in a moment, but it's good to have you with us. And we are, once again, kind of experimenting with this whole live stream concept, and glad to have you along with us. I don't know how many people are watching us, but it's fun to do it this way because when you're live, and that's just how it happens. So Bill Hobson here, along with Pastor Paul Miller, as always, his subtitle, Hammond Bears Fan. Can't wait to talk more about that. David Collins, the People's Champ, is with us. I'm guessing he's got 1 3/4 of his eyes locked in on the U.S. World Cup match against Paraguay. Paraguay, ladies and gentlemen, the powerhouse known as Paraguay. And we bring in our resident soccer head and world's best friend, Carson Greenhaw, to be kind of the football representative of this conversation. So, Paul, I think we have established kind of a new precedent of starting with kind of the bigger headlines of the week before we dive into our major topics, which tonight will be the Sorsby Saga and the World Cup. So which headline do you want to start with?
I think I want to talk about the fact that the Spurs blew a 29-point lead and lost the Knicks.
This is how it sounded.
This isn't intent time, but that's all I need to say is that happened, and then I just need to ask you guys why.
Yeah, this is how it sounded at crunch time after the lead was blown, and the Knicks, with inside of 10 seconds left, needed something.
Brunson gets it, fires up a three. Shot no good. The tip, it's gone! It's gone! It's gone! With 1.2 remaining, Knicks take the lead. OG Anunoby, and it's 107-106.
It's just unreal. David, you were watching this whole thing unfold. At which point in the comeback run did you start to think, I think I'll keep this game on my screen for a while longer?
Yeah, it was. I turned it off, moved on to other things, and all of a sudden I go look in the third. I'm like, they're coming back. They're still down 20 in the fourth. And then I saw a text from a friend that just said, are the Knicks going to actually do this? I look at the score. I'm like, okay, they're within like 15 at this point. I'll fire it up just to watch. You never know, right? You never know when you're going to see magic. And that was absolutely stunning. It was pure magic. I don't like the Knicks. I don't like the Spurs. I don't like all of the people at Madison Square Garden and the Larry Davids and the Seinfelds and the Tracy Morgans, get out of here. I don't care about any of that. Spike Lee, get out of here. But purely as a basketball fan, that was tremendous to watch. OG Anunoby has now cemented himself in New York lore. If they pull this off, think about it. If they lose Game 7, we won't remember that. The Ray Allen shot he had to hit in Game 6 to force the Game 7 for the Miami Heat against the same Spurs, right? Or no, it was against the Celtics, I think, to go to the finals. If they don't win that Game 7, these things just they leave us. But if they pull this off, OG Anunoby has put himself in rarefied air with those guys that like They're not the greatest guys that have ever played for your basketball team, but they're those guys that are the glue guys that make things work, that he plays defense all down. But here's the bigger issue. The bigger issue is, you want to know how this happened? This happened because basketball has changed way too much.
Yeah.
The Spurs were up 5 points and shot and missed 8 straight three-pointers. Yeah. You have that lead, and you're not pounding it in. You're not wasting time. And can we talk for one quick second about all-time meltdown from De'Aaron Fox? What in the world is going on there? That ball gets down to the other end of the court. You grab it, you circle around, you waste time, you hit some free throws, everybody knows what to do there, and he's a professional veteran, and it just, the brain fart is J.R. Smith-like when he forgot, what if they had timeouts or which basket they were shooting at. I don't even remember with him, but like, it was just, it was phenomenal basketball. Like, it's wild to think how basketball has changed. The 29-point comeback wasn't a thing that you could do in 2003.
And not only were there 8 consecutive three-point attempts, they all came early in the shot clock at a time when all you had to do was hold that ball. Here's a brief bit of insight from Charles Barkley, and then Paul and Carson will let you weigh in.
We saw the dumbest basketball team in the history of civilization.
Oh, wow.
We saw they had a 25-point lead, took eight straight threes. Like, they thought to get, like, that was some of the most mismanaged, stupid basketball. Hey, when you blow a 29-point lead, the other team has to help you. The San Antonio Spurs help the New York Knicks win this game.
Just, I can't disagree with Chuck. Paul, how did you see it?
Yeah, I actually turned the game. We walked into a Culver's. I was with the Apex staff team, Carson, and we were just finishing up some training with all of our missionary leaders that we're sending out this summer. And we walked into Culver's, and it was like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they were up 15. And we were like, oh, wow. I had no context of anything that had happened in the game. And we're like, we should just stay here at Culver's in Minneapolis and just revel in the fact that the Spurs are going to win this game. And then as the clock ticked away, the Culver's got more crowded. People got more and more interested in watching the game. Minnesota T-Wolves fans got more and more frustrated with the fact that the Knicks were coming back, because they hate the Knicks because Karl Anthony Towns is now a player, and he never was when he was in Minneapolis. And so I don't know, man. I think what David said is spot on. The game has changed, and if you're going to live by the three, you're going to die by the three, and that's what we saw happen in that game.
Yeah, and why do you try to live by it when you're up 30? You live by it when you're red hot at the beginning of the game, and you come out and you put this flood of offense against the Knicks. They are on their heels. You're pummeling them at halftime. It's not even a game. And then at some point, and this is why if I'm analyzing all of this, I'm coming back to the coaching. I'm wondering if everybody on the team is young, so is the coach. And does nobody hear Popovich's voice in their head going, guys, they have to chase us down. Why are we making it easy for them to do this? Let's stop jacking up threes, especially when they've gone ice cold in the second half. And listen, I understand the irritation and the flooding of celebrity sightings on the front row. But I have to say, one of the funniest tweets that I saw come out in a very long time was post-game, and Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David are standing there talking to each other, and whoever wrote it said, anybody can take the lead. It's holding the lead that's important. And it's just, for anybody who loves Seinfeld, you got the instant callback to the classic rental car episode, and that was well done. But you're right, David, it's just too much. And by the way, Carson, I'm going to ask you this question. They were talking about how the ticket prices for the front row and like on the floor, on the wood, were over $200,000 a piece.
Yeah.
New York has very strict, hang on, let me use my air quotes, strict scalping laws. What am I missing? This wasn't the Knicks setting that price. That was people selling their tickets for 10 grand and 20 grand and on up. Carson, I think that the Knicks have to forfeit that game because of a violation of the law. Your thoughts?
I wish we had our Church Pew sports lawyer on here to talk about the legalities of it, but the rich get richer. Nobody, I mean, you cannot prosecute Taylor Swift, okay? Like America's sweetheart. Like there would be anarchy in the streets. Like, I don't know if you saw about the video of Spurs fan walking, out like you do anything to her, that's game over. So I don't have much legal advice to give in this outside of I will channel my inner Brian Sharp. Okay. Brian Sharp, who said, this is how Knicks have been winning games all year. They've stayed in it. They've been coming in it. And I like Charles Barkley's quote, right? Like it takes two to tango in this scenario, but the Knicks are a team that grinded out. Hashtag Brian Sharp. So that's all I've got.
Thanks, by the way, to John Fitzsimmons for chatting in. Good evening. He says, just dropping in saying hello and go USA. So we love it when people are watching the live stream and then they drop in a chat with us as well. A 30-point blown lead. And David, you said if this gets to game 7 and somehow the Spurs win the series, nobody's going to remember this. If you right now had to put down some sort of a valuable possession of yours on whether or not they got to a game 6, let alone a game 7, would you do that?
I personally think it'll get to a game 6. I mean, the reality is you have the least explainable thing I've ever seen play sports on the Spurs. Like this Slender Man praying mantis thing is out there just dominating. The problem is have you ever seen him back to the basket somebody? Have you ever seen him try to body somebody and do a Hakeem post move? Have you ever seen that? Everything with Wembanyama's face up, which is fine when you have some space, et cetera. But I mean, the reality is like there's something that's got a change within the framework of how their offense runs. And that's why I find it fascinating because the Celtics built themselves to beat the Knicks beat themselves to beat the Celtics. The Pistons built themselves to beat the Knicks. Like, so all these teams now start to see these other teams. And so you can see, I think the two best teams in the playoffs that were set up to play with New York well were Detroit and OKC.
Yeah.
Because Detroit played them 3 times in the regular season, beat them by 30-plus points all 3 times.
Yeah.
They wanted them, all this stuff. But Detroit, fell to their own mistakes, to a team with some veterans. And I think OKC style, where they're fast-paced, trying to get steals, et cetera, that's great. Like certain teams want to slow everything down, certain teams want to pick everything up, but I think the defensive intensity, the way that Detroit and OKC played, would have actually matched up a lot better. I'm surprised with the Knicks, but I mean, you're starting to see like Karl Anthony Towns outside of the last couple games, he's been unbelievable all postseason. If you didn't know him or Wemby, and I just showed you the first few games of this series, and I said, who's the better player? You would have said that guy, Karl Anthony Towns,
True,
is better than Wemby. But that's because the way matchups go, if your big guys can – I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is a big man that has won a three-point shooting contest. Like this is not, your grandfather's NBA. So it's like at any given time, these guys with supreme talent can rise up and make something happen. So I do think Spurs win next game. After that, total toss-up.
Well, what's funny? They've had a 15-point lead, they being San Antonio, a 15-point lead in every game of the series.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that youth is on display more among the players or among the coaches, because there's no chance on earth that Popovich takes all those timeouts back to the hotel with him and has that run take place without ever doing anything to stop it. But again, I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it because, much like David, I'm not a huge fan of either team. But whenever you have a chance to see an historic collapse, you got to talk about it for a little bit. Paul, what else is on our headlines list?
Well, the only other thing that I see, Bill, is this thing about Phil Mickelson being in big trouble.
Dude.
And it keeps going deeper and deeper. I think you need to talk to us about this one.
Yeah, well, when you're in a hole, stop digging. That would be the start. So back at the Masters time, Phil withdrew from the Masters for what was publicly stated as a family matter, and family health issue was the word. And then a couple tournaments for Live Golf he missed for a family health issue. Well, now this week the family health issue has come to light, and at his home course in San Diego, Phil was literally physically removed from the golf course in the middle of a round by authorities because the culmination of a months-long investigation into improper conduct with a staff member at the club was verified. I don't pretend to know all the details. There obviously was it's publicly known that there was a young lady involved in this who worked on the staff. And then there's a lot of conjecture as to why now, if this has been going on for so long. I'm not going to get into that part, but I am going to read to you a quote from Kevin Van Valkenburg, who is a really gifted golf writer. He and I would not share the same side of the political spectrum, but this paragraph on Phil sums it up. Over the last 5 years, Mickelson has squandered more goodwill than any athlete since O.J. Simpson. He has taken his reputation and traded it in for something sinister. He's now a 55-year-old man who is clearly scared to grow old, spends most of his time complaining and raging against the inevitable realization that there are not many paydays or ovations left to comfort him as he drifts through the autumn of his life. The league he helped found, Live Golf, has failed. The league that made him famous, the PGA Tour, wants nothing to do with him. He is soon to be a man adrift in more ways than one. That's a powerful paragraph, and I can't argue with any of it. It's very sad, but it is one of the sports headlines of the week because Phil really was this generation's, on a popularity scale, he was Arnold Palmer. And instead, he's now coming off more like, well, he's coming off poorly. Let me not throw another name in there for the sake of, because David, I think, knows one of the many possibilities of where I could go with that, so I won't. So bad news for Phil, and with Live Golf collapsing completely, he really will have nowhere left to go. I think we've seen the final days. I expect the next thing that will happen, if these allegations are confirmed and all of that happens, I think the next thing that will happen is that he will no longer be invited to play at Augusta National as a Masters champion, which would be a very rare occurrence since one of their former champions, who just got out of like a 7-year prison stint, got to come back and play last year. So having said all that, the saga of Mr. Mickelson is no good for anybody, including, by the way, his wife, who's still recovering from cancer. Now, for our big topics of the night, I think we got to start with Sorsby, Paul. I mean, will you please give us the 30,000-foot overview right after we hear from Paul Thamel, or Pete Thamel, just quickly? Here we go.
This is certainly an unprecedented day in the history of college sports, and I don't want to sound overdramatic here, but gambling has always been a thick red line, and the fact that Brendan Sorsby, who admitted to placing thousands of bets for $90,000, including 40 bets on his own team while he was at Indiana, the fact that he is going to be, or has been legally cleared to play college football this season at Texas Tech, is simply something that we've never seen before. And
there you go.
Yeah, it's a crazy story that is not close to done, right? I mean, Thamel just summarized it. This guy was betting on all kinds of sporting events, and including games for his own team when he was his first couple years in college football at the University of Indiana. And he checks himself into a rehab facility to break his gambling addiction. And many people thought it was just to try to save face because he knew the hammer was coming. And sure enough, the NCAA did what they should have done and said, for the integrity of the game, you've lost your eligibility, blah, blah, blah. Lo and behold, they find a judge in Lubbock who might be a Tech fan who offers up an injunction that says you can't do this, and then the NCAA appeals, and of course the appeal won't be heard until February when the guy's done with this college football season, and it's a moot point. Anyways, the fascinating part to me of this whole thing at this point anyways is trying to predict which way it's going to go. Is he actually going to play? Are teams going to drop Tech from their schedule? Is the school going to decide not to play him? Is the Big 12 going to decide to do something? There's all these different things that could happen. You have like Ken Paxton, the Attorney General from Texas, threatening the Big 12 if they do any. I mean, there's so many different layers to this thing. The one consistent thing is that just about anybody everywhere who's not a Tech fan is pretty stinking angry at the whole situation. So it's Tech against the world right now, and it's really going to be fascinating to see how it plays out.
Carson, as the world's best friend, are you siding with Sorsby? Because he's claiming to be the victim here. As his attorney said, Mr. Sorsby will hold the Big 12 and its members fully accountable for their actions.
In the middle of Paul's recap, I wanted to say objection, speculation on the judge. How dare we? Come on, man. In the midst of all this, I'm texted a good friend of mine, Texas Tech fan. Also, I thought what Kit put in our texting group was very interesting. As I look at all of this, I'm not angry with Tech, actually. I look at just a terrible college football situation that as we opened the gates, like cheating used to be in the back, right? And to have any college program think that there is, I mean, I kind of want to puke anytime an AD or a college coach says the word integrity. Like, I'm just like, I don't even know. As I hear you guys joke about money coming in the back door, I look at Tech and it sounds like they have responded in every way that they were supposed to. And now I just look at, now here's the broken legal system entering into this. I think the injunction is, like, again, I don't think he should be playing. Like that's where I'm at. But the system, as we continue to go more and more, it's just the adults in the room, it feels like messing it up for everyone else. So it's hard to blame a Tech when any other blue blood program, I have a hard time thinking they would do anything different. I have a hard time thinking Michigan needing a quarterback right now, and Sorsby is on the roster. And maybe that's just me thinking the worst of every college program right now, but it's kind of hard not to. So I think that's where I'm sitting, in the sense of, like, it seems as if Tech is doing everything by the book and the system around them is just showing it how broken it really is.
But he didn't. He crossed the line of the unpardonable sin in sports, right? That's what everybody's saying. Now, his coach, of course, would not agree. Here's the coach, and then David, it's your turn.
Brendan Sorsby is recovering from an addiction. He's recovering. Like, I've sat down with this young man multiple times, and the things that he is going through and what he's been through is serious. As a society, we've been okay with other things that happens and allowing players to play, and this has been the one thing that has united people that we're against, you know. And it's crazy because it's not murder, it's not beating somebody, or so there's a lot of things that we're working through.
David?
I mean, I don't know if I could write like that, like in a comment, like the reason, and what you were saying earlier was correct in the fact that Tech's kind of doing the right thing. The problem is what they did was they unloaded this information on the public because they were hoping to find what the backlash was going to be. And since the backlash has been unanimous against them, now if you actually go and look, the comments recently coming out of there are like, well, if we decide to play him, or they're starting to back up a little bit from their statements that this is our guy. I love that you played that clip because, yeah, buddy, the gambling is the problem because the integrity of the sport is the literal thing that you're trying to protect. There are people that do stupid things all the time, that get in trouble, that drive cars when they're drunk that they shouldn't. And there's people that commit murders or steal or crimes and those are all problems. But the specific problem we're dealing with is the integrity of the absolute game. And the minute that gambling becomes even the smallest little thing in the back of people's minds as to, is this game being thrown? Is this game being ruined? That's a huge problem. There is no way Sorsby plays for them this year. If he does, I would be shocked. And even if you go and look, all the people that intervened for him, all these other politicians and business leaders and all these things, every single one of them that got the appeal from the Texas Tech judge, all were Texas Tech alum. Every one of them. Yes. So it's like They went out of their way to try to make this happen, thinking people wouldn't care. And the minute people started really caring, they backed up and went like, "Whoa, he's not murdering anybody." It's like, whoa. It's like, yeah, hey, sure, a lot of things aren't murder, but keep it in context of what we're talking about, you idiot. Sorry.
he just hit the wall and cut it right off. Okay, so I'm looking at on my iPad here a full page letter from the athletic director Kirby Hocutt at Texas Tech. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is his defense of all of it, and he starts with, "I watched the reaction to Monday's court ruling with great respect from my colleagues across college athletics. Many of them are people I admire, but I also owe it to Texas Tech and frankly to the truth to offer a few facts that seem to be getting lost in the noise. Brendan Sorsby has not played a single down of football as a Red Raider. He will miss the first 2 games of the 26th season under the terms of the court's ruling. And what happens after that will depend on his recovery progress." Then further down in the letter, my favorite part of this is Kirby says, "I have 2 sons, including one who recently graduated from Texas Tech and played football. And I've kept asking myself, how would I approach this situation if this were my own son?" Can I just interject my own opinion right here? Could we just say, perhaps throughout all of collegiate sports, that we can no longer allow gaming advertising in every broadcast, surrounding every timeout and in everything that we do? I'm not here to defend the kid, but we have basically taken a kid who is immersed in a culture of gambling and said, do not do the very thing that's paying the bills to keep these lights on and allow us to pay you the $5 million a year that you're getting in NIL money. Don't do that. It's mind-blowing to me how disconnected reality is from revenue. And we have
But I think you're missing the point, Bill. If he just would have gotten a translator and blamed it all on the translator, it would have gone completely. No one would even care about it anymore.
Never
the
talk
problem
about
was he decided to admit he had a problem.
Yes.
Guys, stop admitting you have problems, all right? Then everything will go fine. Or blame it on a translator.
Somewhere, if you believe in concepts like rolling over in one's grave, Pete Rose is going, hey, wait a minute. Where are my judges? So, Paul, where do you think this goes?
Pete Rose was made for this generation.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I think David's right. I don't think there's any way this guy plays. I don't think they're
paying him $5 million.
Well, I think he's going to get his money, but I don't think he's going to play. Wow. And I think that's really helpful. That's really a great scenario to help his recovery.
$5 million and nothing to do.
His addiction.
Shoot.
Right. I was looking for the quote. I saw it on Twitter today where I think it was one of the lawyers said if this was LSU, nobody would have cared because they would expect something like this from Lane Kiffin. But because it's Tech, everybody's in an uproar because they don't want to play us with Brendan Sorsby as our QB. I'm like, really? That's where we're going to go? We're going to try to drag Lane Kiffin into the conversation and say, kind of what he's insinuating there is, there's all kinds of scandals and cheating going on everywhere else, but because it's Tech and we're so great, nobody wants to see Sorsby under center for us. And
it's not like he murdered anyone.
No, he didn't beat anybody. Can any of the three of you think of another issue in the last 20 years that has had the entire college athletic world agree that it's got to be fixed, that it's wrong? You can almost always find things that 75% agree on, then the SEC doesn't because it's not in their best interest or whatever. Right. But in this case, the voices of condemnation are coming from inside the house. It is everybody in the Big 12. It is everybody in the SEC, everybody in the Big 10, everybody everywhere, to the point where they're threatening to not play Tech. And then, of course, Tech decides, oh, my word, Don Cannon, the late, great Michigan athletic director who was responsible for the construction of the big house and had that vision back then, had a mantra: never make a one-day story into a two-week story. Well, Tech, having seen that statement, decided to double down on it and make it probably a 3-month story by bringing together all of the upper brass of the university to sit in a kind of a panel discussion video that was, I think it was 29 minutes long. I didn't watch but 2 minutes of it. And they spent that entire time trying to make the case for why they got all of this right. And it did not help anything. And every once in a while, you just kind of wish that some of these super bright people would reach out to somebody who's maybe dumb, like one of us, and go, what do you think we should do here? Because the answer would never be, I think, a half-hour roundtable panel discussion where all you do is defend the integrity of the school. I think that's the way to go. You talk about backfire. That's just absolutely crazy.
Okay, so let me ask a football question in this whole conversation about this. If Sorsby ends up not being eligible to play and he goes in the supplemental draft, what are his prospects as a pro quarterback? What do you guys think?
I mean, I think at best right now, I mean, one of the reasons he's doing what he's doing is because he's trying to elevate his draft stock. I think at this point, talent-wise, the numbers he's put out there, I mean, you could take him in the 5th, 6th round as like a project. But I mean, until he puts down some serious tape this year's, especially because this is a good quarterback class coming out. So, I mean, yeah. I just don't see – I don't honestly know what benefits him to play, to not play. It's a really weird situation.
Am I the only one cynical enough to believe that if Texas Tech hadn't already invested $5 million in NIL money in this guy, he would be gone yesterday from this program?
Probably.
Totally. Yep.
I mean, what for a guy who's never played a down for you, you would clearly have the grounds to say, turns out we have some personal issues we're just not in agreement with. It's for the betterment of the program. By the way, they theoretically have a locker room full of young men who are wondering what's going on in this double standard world.
Yeah.
Jamison Williams, David, what was his first suspension crime? I know there was more and there's probably more to come, but what was his first suspension for?
The first one I think was for apparently he placed a bet on something like in a team facility building.
He was on property of the school.
He could be sitting in his car and doing it. It's on the property, and they were able to ID his, where he was when he placed the bet. And so that cost him 6 games, right?
Yes, it cost him 6 games because he was on the property. This kid's in the locker room placing bets on the team he's playing for, and a judge goes,
"Didn't he do it at halftime?"
I'm pretty good with that. Yes. And a judge says, you know what? He's okay. It's just part of his recovery process. Hey, grace and truth, right?
Why now? Like, that's the other aspect to all of this. Like, it's like, where was this coming out at Indiana or Cincinnati?
Yeah, why was it just discovered?
It's only coming out because he got caught. That's like someone somewhere told him something, and he said, I got to come clean at this point. And then it's everybody get on the defensive and see if you can somehow make everyone in America not mad at you all at the same time. Whoops, we failed.
Well, and you also wonder when these NIL deals are going to have these contract stipulations like the NFL, right? No, you cannot go surfing. No, you cannot be on an ATV. Like, no, you cannot gamble, and that voids your deal. Like,
you're speaking. I've said this how many times? The biggest problem with this is that none of us know the language on any of these NIL contracts. There's no template. Like, we're all just guessing. So I have no idea, like, what is or what clause. Like, do you have to behave a certain way? We don't have any idea. Every school could be doing their own thing. Who has the schools that have worse lawyers are going to be the ones we find out about in about 6 years.
Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, that's enough of Sorsby. Let's move on. Because as we speak, I believe the United States has 3 goals on the board against Paraguay, which for some teams is a month's worth of offense. And as we enter into the World Cup, and Carson holds up a jersey for I don't know what nation.
Paraguay.
What?
It's Paraguay.
It's for Paraguay.
Why do you have a Paraguay jersey or flag?
My first ever soccer game, my brother was a missionary in Paraguay. They're playing a World Cup qualifier, and he's like, we got to go. And so small town Hillsborough, Kansas kid, 16 years old, goes to his first live major sporting event, okay, in another country. And it'll be an experience I will never forget. It's why I became a soccer fan at age 16, even though I had zero access to it. And it's why Paraguay is my second team. Like, I'm rooting for the U.S., but I want Paraguay to be number 2 in this group.
You had zero access to soccer because
small town, no internet, right? Like small town, you have basic sports. You're going to have cross country, you're going to have football, but yeah, nobody played soccer. It was still the day and age where it's like, if you're a man, you play football. If you're a sissy, you play soccer.
So you were raised right,
This is
is
why
what you're
I'm
saying.
the world's best friend, David.
Yeah, you were raised correctly is what you're telling us. Okay, so Paul, we enter into this biggest sporting event in the history of the world, and it's everywhere. Earlier today, I want you guys to know, and I probably should get some sort of a ribbon or a trophy. I watched a good portion of the second half of the Canada versus Bosnia. There you go, game. Yeah. It was in Toronto. Everything was bright red everywhere. It was electric. It was high energy. They're tied at 1. And I start texting Paul, what does overtime look like here in the World Cup? And he's like, no, it just ends in a tie. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. What are we doing here? This is ridiculous.
Carson, you need to give us, give all our listeners, Carson,
be better.
Give our listeners a quick, how does it work? What's the structure of this tournament?
So this shows how many soccer fans Paul and Bill have if I have to be the guy to explain this, okay? Like, we're scraping the barrel. But what it is they've expanded it to 64 teams. And so what that turns out is you have groups of 4. The top 2 go through. And then what it'll be is it'll be 8 of the third place teams will then make it out. From there, Bill, then you will be no more, it's tournament style, no more overtime. But in group play, 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss.
Okay, so
Paraguay just scored.
In the first section of this, where you're in your pod or your group, there are 4 nations in each group. You play 3 games. You play against everybody in your pod. And then whoever comes out with the most points moves on. There's even a consideration of goal differential. So, frankly, if you're playing a horrendous team, you do want to run the score up. That's
why Paraguay scoring just now was big for them.
Oh, they did get one? Okay.
They just got one. Then you never know if how's that going to help with the goal discrepancy.
So as that all continues and you get through group play and you go into the next round, are we then moving to different cities and stadiums? Like right now, where is the U.S. playing against Paraguay?
L.A. They're playing in LA. So we have a shared bid between Mexico and Canada. So we got games in Canada, games in the US, games in Mexico. I don't know all the cities. This World Cup is so much bigger than past year's World Cup. It's kind of hard to keep track.
All right. So, Paul, what's your level of commitment as a guy who has dedicated himself to watching some baseball for the first time in a long time, and you took in some NBA, but you've always been a big soccer guy because your son played at a very high level. How deep into this are you and will you be?
Oh, I'll have I already got my YouTube TV set to record all the matches. I will watch back all the ones that are of interest to me. My kids all have their favorite teams, so I'll be following Germany, I'll be following Spain, France, and I'll especially, of course, be following the U.S. because there's a couple, I think 3 guys on the roster for the U.S. men's national team that my son Jake actually played with when he was down playing with FC Dallas. So I know a couple of those guys, right, just from watching them be teammates with Jake. And so it's a great, I don't know, man, soccer for me is one of those sports that you can have on while your laptop's up and you're answering email. And so it's perfect. It's way above baseball for me. So this is not, there's no summer dead period this year because we have the World Cup going on.
How long does it last? Does this thing go into late July? I don't know how long this thing stretches.
6 weeks, I think.
Wow.
Something like that.
I don't know with the bigger format. Yeah.
All right, David.
I'm like Paul. You guys, like this, your March Madness every year, This is like, we get soccer games, 2 to 3 games every single day for like the next 14 days. I love it.
Much along the lines of my grandma saying, you get vegetables every meal. That's about the same level of enthusiasm that I take from that statement. David, where are you in the same question that I asked Paul? You're a consumer of sports of all kinds. Where does this come into your priority list?
I love the World Cup. I mean, I think it's fantastic. The last World Cup with Messi winning it at the end, and just pure cinema. So yeah. I think it's great. I mean, I'm not a huge, I don't mind soccer. I don't follow it a ton. And I don't really know anyone on the U.S. team outside of, the players, the 2 or 3 that everybody knows. So, but I mean, I'll root for the U.S. and I just like to watch. I like to watch some of the different stories. Like I love watching like a Colombia team coming out. It's always awesome to see. And just the different, it's like watching the World Baseball Classic, just the different personalities of each of the teams, the different ways they celebrate. The African teams a lot of times celebrate different. It's just, I don't know, it's a fun event. You get to see all these amazing athletes from all over the world. Why not get into it? I mean, does it
right? Rub you the wrong way at all, David, that during the broadcasts, which are run by FIFA, even though they're on Fox, that in between, like for transitions, they always just use the FIFA logo and they just fly it right at your face? And knowing your love of FIFA as, I believe, your top 3 most corrupt organizations on the planet, does that kind of just slap you along upside the head like a cold fish? Just bam, just FIFA every time there's a camera change or a replay?
No, not at all. I mean, we're at a place. This is capitalism. This is America. Give me your logos. Sell me your things. Whatever it is. Like I just in my face all the time. I'm going to say a word, and the next time I search something on my phone, it's going to try to sell it to me. Like, come on, baby, consumerism. Woo! Go FIFA.
Speaking of consumerism, I will tell you that to this point, my favorite moment of World Cup, it really hasn't taken place on the, ready for this, pitch. You're welcome. It's taken place in the cultural introduction of so many European fans to things that we do in America that they have not experienced yet, including these 2 guys who are in Texas. I don't know, are they doing this at Jerry's World? I don't know where they're playing the matches in Texas, but these 2 guys experienced for the first time ever Texas barbecue. Take a listen.
Whoa. I know you're from where you're from.
We're foreign. What we don't know what we're doing.
Stop with the knife.
No, you don't need a knife?
No, you pull it apart with your hand. And listen, hold up. And you take your fingers and you lift that up and you eat it.
Okay.
Not with a fork.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry.
Enjoy holding your food and eating it like that.
I love eating with hands. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay. No.
I'm sorry I let it get that far.
No. Our mistake. Our mistake completely.
We're not used to meat being soft enough to just rip it apart without a knife.
Okay.
I mean, that's not normal.
Mate, cheers.
Cheers. The best ribs in America.
Here they go.
Oh. My gosh.
First bites ever of barbecue.
It is the most succulent meat with the most beautiful glaze.
Can you see how cleanly that's come off the bone? You see that?
It's just incredible.
I'm sorry, I completely lost for words.
I'm completely at a loss for words. Oh, that's my favorite moment so far. So good stuff. And awesome. Apparently we have plenty of time in the weeks ahead to continue talking about World Cup. So we will do so. Meanwhile, let's move on to Holy Discontent.
It's time to blow off some steam. Get it off your chest. Rant about what's most bothering you.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
It's time for Holy Discontent.
All right, let's, Paul, why don't you lead it off for us?
Well, I think I'm just going to rile up David again, but my Holy Discontent this week is Celebrity Row at Madison Square Garden. I just sat down and gave myself 30 seconds to think of how many names I could write down of annoying fan shots that I'd seen during the last game. Timothy Chalamet, Ben Stiller, Tracy Morgan, Taylor Swift, Cardi B, Adam Sandler, Jerry Seinfeld, Spike Lee, right? Those are the ones that I came up with. The only two that I saw and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool that guy's there. Derek Jeter and John McEnroe. In fact, I was thinking to myself, it actually would be pretty cool if McEnroe walked over and sat down at the announcer's table and just got on a microphone and called the game for a few minutes. Like if they had him in as a guest announcer for the game, that would have actually been entertaining. I don't care that any of those other people can afford a $75,000, $100,000, $200,000 ticket to sit courtside. I just don't care. And I don't care that any of them are jumping around like crazy fans because they don't really know what's going on in the game, but they're supposed to be excited, so they're acting excited. I want to just watch basketball. I don't need to see.
You know who's missing from that whole scene? That if he were to walk in, let's say after the first quarter, and take a seat that was otherwise empty on the floor in first row, and that place would blow the roof off of Madison Square Garden, Charles Oakley.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, after the literal dragging out of a legend years ago, that would be the guy. So anyways, that's a good one. Carson, your holy discontent.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning into the no off season for sports fans. And this is where I'm going with it. Okay. So as Christians, I always feel like I feel like we should be a little wary of this, like everything permissible, but not everything is profitable, right? When we think about the new college football playoff going and the national title game being January 25th, that is just bonkers. Like I was driving and on the radio, this is what they said. And I was like, oh my goodness, that the middle of the season for the national championship team will be Thanksgiving break.
Wow.
That is the middle of their season. Like, isn't that bonkers? And there's just something about it that I'm just like, what are we doing here? And at some point, like just I'm so sorry. It is all about the money. But I'm like, this is not good for humanity. That's all I'm going to say. That's my holy discontent.
And Paul, to jump in real quick, Scott Tinman joins you in your detesting of Celebrity Row. DJ Khaled on his phone. Not a fan. The highly talented DJ Khaled, by the way, who has made a living out of just saying another one over and over again.
Yeah, you can't prosecute Taylor Swift, but you can prosecute Cardi B and Jay-Z and DJ Khaled and all the other 27 million other rappers that are sitting courtside that I've never heard of before.
I am not going to say it on this program, but if anybody wants to have your laugh of the week, just look up what Charles Barkley had to say about Cardi B during the live broadcast when they showed her. I'm just going to leave it there. This is Church Pew Sports. David, I'm sort of conflicted about letting you go next because of the risk of you stealing my holy discontent. And I know you don't look at the planner that we have here before the show. So if you do, it'll just totally be because we're on the same wavelength. What is your holy discontent, David Collins?
I actually sent this in the text chat the other day, so you should know where I'm going with this. So the other day, I'm jumping on my ESPN app. Listen, I haven't watched an ESPN show that isn't a live sporting event since I was in college, okay? I don't care. Like, once old Sports Center went away, all I care about is the sports. So I don't care what's going on ESPN. I don't care what any of them say, blah, 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 blah. But I'm looking for, like, the scores of a Tigers game. But the thing that always pops up is the homepage. And on the homepage, it says, today's top stories. Mind you, that very evening, the World Cup was starting. Game 4 was happening. Baseball's everywhere. There's so much. Hockey is in the Stanley Cup Finals. All of these things are happening right now. And the top story was LeBron James says that he doesn't think he'd take anyone over him to be the GOAT.
Put the crown
That's
on.
the top story.
Yeah.
First Take opened their show the first 15 minutes with talk about whether they agreed with LeBron about whether he's the GOAT or not. While all of these amazing sporting events are going on. Again, I don't watch it. I don't read. I don't care about ESPN, but it's like, it just saddens me that the world that I thought was happening back then is the one that actually came true. And it just made me, how how could you spend? Why would LeBron say anything other than, "Yeah, I think I'm the best"? Like, should he have been like, you know what? Jordan's better. Like, he's a little better than me, but I'm second best. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. Anyways.
And why is it a topic? It's just laziness. It's
the number one topic they started their shows with all through ESPN that day. And then they would get to the game that's coming tonight, which happened to be like one of the best games we've ever seen.
Yeah, just ridiculous. Good one. I'm glad you didn't take mine, and I did forget that you had posted that already in our group chat. But once I start in on this one, you'll join me. Dylan Larkin. Detroit Red Wing Dylan Larkin. Detroit Red Wing captain Dylan Larkin. Michigan native Dylan Larkin. U of M Wolverine Dylan Larkin wants out. Just bail on his team. The captain, the guy with the C on his sweater, has asked for a release, and that is, hockey is a game of code, and it's a game of loyalty. It sounds like Nicholson in A Few Good Men. Son, we believe in honor, code, loyalty. We believe these words, and things you only talk about at parties, kind of a thing. And here's Dylan Larkin, clearly frustrated that the Wings collapsed at the end of the season. I think he was a part of that effort. Pretty sure he was. And now demanding a trade. And Darren McCarty, who, Darren's, certainly been through a few miles of rough road since his playing career ended, but he will never bail on the Wings after all of his life that he invested into them. Here are about 30 seconds worth of D-Mac's thoughts on Dylan Larkin wanting out as the captain.
Dylan Larkin's a liar. So he gave you guys what you wanted to hear, and Larkin having success at the Worlds with other players, he was like, dude, I'm not going to go through the BS. And I thought when you commit to a long-term contract as a captain that you were there for the long haul, but obviously it's 2026 and things aren't as it used to be, and generation's soft, bro. We'll find out, how tight this group really is, or isn't. As a player, if you don't want to be there, I don't want you there.
All I will say is that if Dylan Larkin does end up on another team, which is quite likely, the first game he plays back against the Wings will be fascinating, to say the very least.
I'll tell you what, Bill, we will know whether or not it was the right thing to let him go by whether or not we have a culture when he gets back at first game back. If somebody doesn't get up there and punch him in his mouth, first game we see him, then we'll know, okay, maybe the Wings are back because maybe they got some culture. Because I don't know what we've been watching the last few years.
Yeah, it really hasn't been culture.
No identity. And guess what? That includes you, D-Boss.
Yeah. All right. See, I told you you'd join me. Time for that guy.
Right now, this minute, today, this week, I am the man!
All right, some good news. Some guys we're going to call out, guys or ladies we're going to call out for doing it the right way. Carson, we'll let you lead us off in that guy.
Yeah, I'm going with that gal. All right. I know we've had a lot of hate against the Knicks celebrity, but there is one that should be elevated. Mariska Haggerty. If I messed up your name, I'm so sorry. I'm not a Broadway guy. Huge Knicks fan, doing a solo Broadway show called Every Brilliant Thing. Okay. Her show is before the Knicks game. Solo show. She shaves 4 minutes off the show, has a car waiting outside, hops in the car. Traffic is so bad. She gets out of the car, goes 10 blocks. Now she says sprinted, you know what? I'm going to give her that. However, she went 10 blocks and made it there right for tip off. And so I'm just like, what a beautiful, yes, celebrities, yes. Huge, but here is a person that's like, oh, you've been in this for a bit. This wasn't just a side hobby. The Knicks are good now, and I just thought that was a fun story from one of the Knicks celebs. That man, gotta highlight. Give her some props. Great job.
You were one sentence into that, and I thought you were going Taylor Swift. David, you're that guy.
My that guy, and he's just going to remain that guy until he's not that guy. Kevin McGonigal of the Detroit Tigers. maybe the best baseball player in the history of the game. The only reason he doesn't pitch like Shohei is because no one's asked him to. He could, and he'd be great at it.
Chuck Norris.
He's a legend, and I just love him. And so he's that guy. You know, he may wear number 7 on the field, but he is number 1 in my heart.
Love it. Love it. Paul,
Good.
Paul, your turn with your that guy, and I do have your clip ready for you.
All right, so my that guy this week is Dr. J, because of an interaction he had with Charles Barkley when Charles was a young first year, like a rookie in the NBA, making all the money, buying all the things. And Charles here in this clip is recounting the advice he got from Dr. J. So take a listen.
First was an idiot when I got my money. Yeah. I had like 3 or 4 cars. And Dr. J says, how many of those cars can you drive at the same time? I said, what do you mean? He says, how many of those cars you got to drive at the same time? I says, 1. He says, well, why you got 4? He said, Chuck, this money got to last you for the rest of your life. He says, this money got to last you the rest of your life. He says, son, don't waste all your money on cars. Everybody know who you are. Wow. He said, if you pull up in a Kia, they know, oh, that's Charles Barkley. You pull up in a Mercedes-Benz or a Rolls-Royce, that's Charles Barkley. But the problem is that money, it's not the fact that you can't afford that car. Right. It's the fact that $300,000 you spent on that Bentley, if you bought a car for $70,000, $80,000, you would have had $200,000 more in the bank, and it would have been growing and growing, and in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 20 years, that $200,000 is going to be worth a lot more.
There you go.
Sound financial planning from Dr. J to Sir Charles. I think it's awesome.
The doctor.
The doctor.
I'm going to have my child. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have my child listen to that. He just opened his first savings and checking account. So be like, let's get some Charles Barkley financial advice, son.
This would have been a really good day for your child to begin working at SpaceX. So my that guy, I've got 2 of them. One of them's really short. It won't take any time at all. The Boston Red Sox have a pitcher named Peyton Tolley. This happened over a week ago, but it was just hilarious because he committed a balk that ended up costing them the game. And, you know, at the end of the game, he was asked, like, what happened? How did you possibly commit this balk? I need you to hear his answer. It is so stinking good.
I wish I could tell you. You know, I mean, there was no brain there. We're in a groove with the windup. Let's go back to it. You know, I haven't had a balk this year, so I thought this is the perfect time for it.
I just thought that was great. He's like, no brain at that time. My other that guy is really the entire Indiana legislature, because while they sit a few miles away and watch the city of Chicago government implode and the state of Illinois implode about their efforts to keep or not keep the Bears, the legislature in Indiana just keeps rolling out every possible piece of incentive that they can think of to get them to come over to Hammond, which I believe, if I've heard right, it's like 30 minutes from Soldier Field, but it is across the state line. A quick excerpt from this article written by House of Yogi. I don't know who this is. He says, Chicago isn't losing them to a bigger market or a better deal. The Bears decided they'd rather be a tenant in Indiana than deal with Illinois for 1 more year. Think about how badly you have to run a place for that to be the smart move. And he goes on to talk about how now Cook County will end up with 0 tax dollars because they tried to advance tax the Bears on stuff that they hadn't even done yet on a vacant lot in Arlington Heights and all that. And Paul, we send a lot of stuff around and we joke about you're listed as the Hammond Bears fan on your description here on the live stream. But this kind of thing, if it wasn't actually taking place before our very eyes, would be like ripped out of a Ted Lasso episode or something that's so satirical and fictional that it just wouldn't be believable. But in Illinois, everything goes. Everything's believable, and what a debacle.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide which is a safer bet, that the Bears will actually move to Hammond or that Brendan Sorsby will play quarterback for the Texas Tech Red Raiders this year.
Wow.
Not sure where I want to put my money.
Well, if I understand correctly, and we'll probably do an episode of a deeper dive on the Bears thing, but once it gets formulated a little bit more solidly. But even if they do decide to go to Hammond, Indiana, there's no stadium there, so we're a couple years away, and we're going to have some awkward moments still at Soldier Field, which I'm guessing the maintenance quality of Soldier Field will be decreasing because they don't want to put any more money into it. And I cannot imagine what's going to be like, man. It's crazy.
Well, as a Bears fan, I can tell you that the fan experience at Soldier Field is crap.
That's what I've heard.
It's terrible. So I get why they would want to do it. And actually, if everyone could get over the fact that they're moving across the state line, it's not that far. It's still Hammond, Indiana still feels like the southern tip of Chicago, all those kind of things. So if we could just get over it, the actual fan experience, the parking, all the other entertainment district stuff that would go up around it. Soldier Field is the smallest stadium in the NFL. I could go on.
Is it really? Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I will say the one time I went to Soldier Field, it was pretty electric, but it was like, because it was snowing, like the big snowflakes. I was with my buddies that came up from Florida. We were in there, and it just like, it was cold and wet, and the snow was coming down, and you felt like you were in Gotham City watching a game. Like that's what it with the way it's structured and everything and built. It's like, I don't know. It was a really cool experience, and I'm sure if you're a regular fan there, it sucks. But for me to just pop in one time and catch a snow game, it was pretty sweet.
Well, you and I should go to some games together.
Well, you better pick a city. We will we'll move on, round things out with our 3-minute message.
Homer, I'd like you to remember Matthew 7:26. The foolish man who built his house on sand.
And you remember Matthew 21:17.
And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there?
Yeah. Think about it.
Think about it. Okay, so we were calling this the Sorsby and World Cup episode, right? Like, which it kind of has been, but I was kind of struck by the amount of times that the topic of money popped into the conversation tonight. We're talking about mixed ticket prices. We're talking about scalpers. We're talking about World Cup. Well, we didn't really talk about the crazy ticket prices for the World Cup this year. We're talking about Dylan Larkin demanding a trade. We're talking about the Indiana legislature trying to woo the Bears away from Chicago. We're talking, Dr. J is giving financial advice to Sir Charles. And so I was like, yeah, this is a layup. The verse for tonight is the love of money is the root of all evil. But I got a different verse for us. So I don't really need to unpack it too much. I just found this great little soundbite from Ecclesiastes 5:10. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves money never has enough. So I just want to lay that out there for all of us to consider. Where in your life are you making decisions because you don't think you have enough money? And think twice. That's all I got to say. Well,
we still have 2 minutes and 13 seconds to fill in the 3-minute message, but that was pretty good. Hey, guys, thanks for chiming in with us tonight and for being part of the conversation. We are very much appreciative for all of you who are watching us on the YouTube channel or listening to us wherever podcasts are found. And just a reminder that you can catch us on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, and at churchpewsports.com. And we'll look forward to the conversation next time on Church Pew Sports.